Welcome to the Dance to Oneness Podcast. My name's Amy Shine, and this is episode 12. This week, we are going to talk about access bars. And I have a very special guest with me. All my guests are special. But this week, I have Veronica Parker here with me. And Veronica is a certified Kundalini Yoga Teacher. She's also a meditation teacher, Being You, Access Consciousness Facilitator, and a certified facilitator. So I was just thinking if I missed anything. She's got lots of titles. I wanted to really introduce people. Some of you listeners already know about access bars. You've heard about it before. Some of you have taken the access bars class. But I really wanted to just have a discussion around what is access bars and how, Veronica, I wanted to kind of introduce you and ask you even where did you hear about access bars and what made you kind of even try to find out what it is, and what was it that made you even delve into the world of the bars and getting your bars run regularly?
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me here today. And basically, I've been a seeker for many years of my life. Like you said, I have many titles and blah, blah, blah. And I've explored a lot of different energy healing modalities and consciousness tools prior to coming really access bars finding me. And the way that they found me is I also created a podcast 2 years ago. And in the process of doing that, I started researching a lot of different podcasts and downloading them so I could listen and see how other people were podcasting. And Access Consciousness was one of those podcasts that I downloaded. And so I started listening to it, and in the commercials, they would always talk about access bars. Have you had your bars run? Access bars. And I was like, you know what? I haven't done a training in quite a while. And at the time, it seemed like all my other tools and techniques were just not totally doing it for me. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going to go and get trained. So that's what I did.
Amazing. You jumped right into the bars class. So the bars, for people who are listening, the bars are 32 points on your head, and it's a light touch of different points on your head. And when you touch these different points, it's like all these thoughts that you've been storing, feelings, stories, emotions, they start to get deleted. And it's really where your body is holding on to this electromagnetic charge that all your thoughts, feelings have. And when you touch all these points on your head, your body starts to dissipate the charge, the electric charge that these thoughts, feelings, and emotions have. So you didn't even know anything about this. You just jumped right in. You were like, oh, I want to try something new. So what did you how did you find the class?
So I basically went to the Access Consciousness website and I looked for someone, because I live in Southern New Jersey, and at the time no one was doing bars around here. So the closest person was right outside of New York City. And I was just like, okay, an hour and a half, I'm going. And I chose it, and it was one of the best choices. I love, taking the class. I love receiving 2 bar sessions and gifting 2 sessions. And, prior to taking that class, I had been doing, like I said, yoga and meditation for many years. And I remember the entire ride home for almost 2 hours, I felt like I had been meditating for 5 years. It's like my thoughts had completely disappeared from my mind. I had such a sense of ease and peace. It just felt amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I actually found out about access bars from a friend of mine, and it's interesting. I saw a massive change in her, Rachel O'Brien. I had her on the show when I first started this show, and I saw the transformation. I saw her go from, a lot of stress and emotional stuff and constantly battling, and struggling with life. And then I saw this peace in her and this ease. And it was because she started getting her bars run. That's what we call it. You get your bars run. So you can go and you can get a session with a bars practitioner or a facilitator. You lie on a massage table and someone starts running all these points on your head, touching all these different points. And when you leave, you have more space, you have more ease. And like you said, Veronica, it feels like you've meditated for hours, and I remember seeing the change in Rachel, and I was looking for something too, but I still had this like mistrust, like I wasn't really sure, like oh, it's probably like I couldn't comprehend it with my mind how lying on a table and someone touching these points was going to do anything for me, so like
Yeah.
my mind couldn't understand it, I didn't trust it. And so even though Rachel was my friend, I knew her well, even though I saw the change in her, I actually went to her daughter to run my bars first, because I was like in school and I was broke. I didn't have any money. So her daughter did it for like 20 or 30 bucks, I think it was. And even still, like, I was like, the whole time, I think I was like, I don't know what this is. This is ridiculous. Like the whole time I was like in my head trying to control the process. And then towards the end, I remember like towards the end, finally, I think when she got to one of the bars points is kindness, gratitude, peace, and calm. At the end, when she got to that point, at the time, I didn't know what she was doing. When she got to that point, I like my mind like suddenly like kind of just eventually shut off, and I had some like kind of like relaxation. And then after that session, I didn't notice any changes, because again, like I wasn't like aware enough to know that like I actually had more space. But looking back now, I remember sitting at my friend's house afterwards, and the TV was on, and I was actually able to like be there, be present, and have space in my world, and not have 101 things racing through my mind.
Yeah.
I never connected that it was because I just got my bars run. I was just like, oh, I kind of like, I have more space, but I didn't know at the time that that was space.
Right.
So it's so interesting. So many people come and they get their bars run, and afterwards they were like, oh, I don't feel any different. But it's like, it's actually not that you will feel different. It's that you actually have more space. And a lot of times people don't realize how much their mind is going day in, day out, how much their mind is racing, how much they're being controlled by their thoughts. And that's one of the beauties for me that the bar started doing, is it started erasing my thoughts. So there was more space, which is what we try to get to in meditation, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just that it happens so fast when you get your bars run, and you can even be sleeping while someone's running your bars. You don't even need to be awake during a session. And when the session is finished, you just, if you actually choose it, you can begin to notice all the changes that are happening in your body, in your mind, and even in your life, because it begins to open so many different possibilities in your life that maybe you were never even aware that they existed.
Yeah. And like that first bar session, I wasn't even really like, I was like, okay, great. Like, and I kind of went about my life, and then, but like, then I started to see like, no, there's a different way here. There's a different possibility, because I kept going back to like struggle and hardship. And that's when I chose the bars class. Then I chose it a couple of months later. And I have to say that bars class, like you said, where you go in, you receive 2 sessions, you gift 2 sessions, you're in this class for the whole day. You're learning about the bars, you're receiving it, you're gifting it, and gifting you also receive. So you're kind of enveloped in the energy for the day. And I had a similar experience to you, Veronica. Like, I'm going home, and my parents live on this golf course, and like I'm like outside on the golf course, dancing on the golf course in the evening time, like, because I've so much there's so much space in my world. And then there's all these like creative ideas, and my world is full of possibilities. That's the only way I can put it. Like, I'm dancing on the golf course in the evening. The golfers are gone in Ireland on this big green, and I am like bouncing with possibilities. Like, the possibilities are everywhere. And it's like, that's that class, that one day class, like opened up my whole world. And and not everybody has that experience. So if you've taken a bars class and you didn't have that experience, don't judge it. Like, everyone's different, and that's why I'm like, some people take one bar session and they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And some people are like, oh, I don't know, but that's where, if you continue, like, I see it like, it's like a clearing out. It's like, for me, it's like going to yoga every week. Well, I also get my bars run every week. It's part of my priority in taking care of me. I get my bars run. And so I had to say also, like, some people think, oh, I took the bars class or got my bars run once, my life should be different. It wasn't like that. I did have that experience after the bars class where I was full of possibilities, but it didn't, like, I still had to work at it. Like, there was still a lot of things to undo in my world. I think I was nearly a full year of getting my bars run, no joke, getting my bars run, where my mind would still race constantly. I had so much mental activity going on. It took me about a year before I actually relaxed getting my bars run and was able to fall asleep.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, also what happens sometimes is, like, when you're getting your bars run, you just become so much more aware of everything and everyone around you. So it could also sometimes appear like you have more thoughts, or like your mind is racing more. And it could also be like you're just becoming so much more aware of everything that's happening around you. And you might be thinking like it's all you and this thing is not working too.
Yeah. And that's where the who does it belong to tool comes in, which is one of the first tools of Access that actually really changed my reality. Who does this belong to? I started asking it for every thought that came into my head, every feeling, every emotion. For 3 days, I asked it every single day. This was ever before I even had my bars run. And I was like walking around on air. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe none of this stuff is mine. I just kept going, who does this belong to? Return to sender. I didn't know what I was doing. And I kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter. Anytime I go to feel sad or feel like angry, anything, I just say, who does this belong to? Return to sender. And it started really, really changing things for me as well.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite tools for sure.
So, like, how often did you get your bars run at the start? Like, did you become like a regular bars?
So I have 3 kids, and no one here was running bars. And I came back home and I was so excited. I'm like, do you guys want to, like, do you want me to show you this thing? It's called running bars. And they're like, okay. I mean, at this point, my kids, they pretty much tried everything I've tried prior to bars. So they'd be laying down, and so 2 of them are teenagers and one of them was 12. He's 13 now. So they'd be laying down and I'd be running their bars, and within like 5 minutes they'd be like snoring and sleeping, right? So I'd be running the bars, every couple of days on them. And then I began to realize, like, hey, I would like my bars to be run. And no one in the area was doing it. So I actually started bribing them, and I taught them how to do it so that they could run my bars too.
I love that. That's so clever.
Mm-hmm.
That's so amazing. And this is great for the listeners as well to know, like, that you can actually bring this into your family. You can run bars on your kids, and then you can even have them run your bars. You can run it on your husband and your partner. And it really starts to change the energy in your home as well. It creates a kinder home.
Yeah. Absolutely. All the crankiness. We all know, like, when someone starts being like really cranky and they have like no space to allow other people to, like, speak their mind and say their stuff, we're like, oh, you need to get your bars run for sure.
It's time. Yeah. Well, so, okay, that's a great thing. So what are the 3 top signs that you need your bars run?
Oh, definitely when you're cranky. I mean, when you're cranky and you're just like everything is bothering you, it's like you're like this fried wire, it's like definitely need to get your bars run. What other sign?
When I want to kill everyone, which is kind of like cranky. Oh, the other one is like when I feel like I have no space, like I feel like the world is crumbling in on me and I'm like panicking and there's no time to do everything and everything's on top of me. I need to go get my bars run. Because the bars actually creates a space in your world. And then when you have space, you can create everything because you have space. But if you're like contracted, it's really hard to get anything created.
Yeah, definitely. And also, at times like this, when there's so much going on in the world, and maybe you don't necessarily watch the news yourself, but maybe you have a partner that watches the news, or everywhere you go, or if you're on social media, you're like bombarded with all the stuff that's happening in our world right now. That's definitely a good time to get your bars run for sure.
Yeah. What would you say is like a common question you get asked by people who know nothing about bars, like that come to you at the start?
That's such a good question. Let's see. So they're like bar, like why is it called bars if it's just like a point, you know? And then also it's also like one of the misconceptions that people have in the beginning is like you're only gonna like feel it in your head. Like it's only the points that are touching the head, you know? For me, like, especially when my daughter runs my bars, there's one of the bands is called the implant band and it's right behind the ear. When she runs that point, you know, those bars for me, my hips totally open up for me. It's like my whole body just opens up and I feel like so much more flexible and relaxed, you know? So just because the points are located in the head doesn't mean that the only benefit is where the point is in the head.
Well, that's a great point to make, because that follows into another question people ask. Well, what will this help me with? You know, because the bars, okay, so the bars are 32 points on your head, and it's a bar of energy, and it's all of it's connected. So all your thoughts, ideas, and emotions are connected. So when you run the bars, you are deleting all the thoughts, ideas, and emotions. But it's a body process, so it works on your body. Like your point of view creates your reality, which creates everything showing up as your body. Like your body, if you have a point of view like I'm fat and you say it all the time, you'll create that as your body, or whatever it is. I have an illness. So what we're doing here is we're actually undoing the points of views that are creating whatever it is in your body, be it pain, be it emotional stuff, be it, and even points of views around money. Like if you've points of views like me, my number one thing growing up in Ireland was I got to work hard for money. I got to struggle. I got to work hard. So that was what my reality, what money was showing up as. Well, when I started to get my bars run, I started to see I could have a different reality, a different financial reality than the one I thought, like than the one I was brought up around. So it is actually changing not only your body, your points of views on money, on relationships, like anywhere you're kind of unconsciously just in these like patterns of maybe you're just doing the things your mother did in relationship, or maybe you're acting like your father was with money and you're undoing that. So it's like this whole thing, like, yeah, it works on your body and it works on your life, every area of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can also help you with creativity. If you also have like any projects or things you're creating in your life or your business, it can just like give you that container so that they can be created and birthed through you.
And I love that, because you also don't need to have a problem to get your bars run. You don't need to think that you're fucked up, or you don't need to be like going for therapy. Like you can, and you obviously don't have to. Like, because it's like the bars actually, and this is one of the best things. This is why I'm like, I want to be like a pioneer for anything in the world. It's for the bars, because it's like, it's not about fixing you. It's not about things wrong with you. It's actually about you having more of you and you creating greater. And so if you are creative, what if you could be more creative? You know, if you are already creating loads of money, what if you could have more? Like it's not like you have to have a problem either. It's just about actually you having more of you. Every session, every time you get your bars run, you get more of you.
Yes. So true. So true. I definitely used to have that mentality prior to Access Bars and Access Consciousness. Like, it's like you had to discover what the problem was so that you can get underneath it, so that you could change it, and so you could create something different, you know? And what if there's no need to have any problems?
Yeah, and that's one of the things when you start to get your bars run is you actually become happier and more joyful and lighter. So you really actually don't have problems.
Yeah, and that's so horrible. Like, how can you live your life without problems? That's so hard.
Of the bars is that like these things just disappear, and so it's kind of like, oh, like I remember one day, like, you know, just being at home and like things that used to bother me, like things that say my family would say, or something that used to like I used to be so reactive, you know, like everything was a reaction. Anything anyone say, I would react. I was constantly in defense of myself. I was constantly trying to defend myself. So nobody could say anything to me. I would get defensive. And getting my bars run, I never even talked about that in the sessions. It just happened that because when you get your bars run, the brain waves slow down. When the brain waves slow down, it creates new neural pathways. So you don't have the same emotional patterns anymore. You don't have the same reaction patterns. And so I stopped becoming as reactive. It just disappeared. So I didn't have to work at it. Things just changed. And so that has been the gift of the bars for me. And I know it's different for everyone. But I know also I've been committed to like get my bars run every single week since I found this. And it's been part of my self-care, like my taking care of myself, like I said earlier. And I know you've been pretty committed to it too, right, Veronica?
Definitely. Whether it's someone in my family that runs my bars, or now there's been many different people in the area that have come to my Access Bars classes. So we do shares and we trade, and I honestly I can't imagine my life without them. I
actually don't know how people live in the world without getting their bars run. But it's like sometimes like what is it, like what you don't know, like you become comfortable with the like the struggle and the hardship just becomes like part of you, and you don't realize that there actually can be an easier way. And so my invitation really is, like, if you're listening to this show and you're curious, like you can go to www.accessconsciousness.com and you can look up bars. You can look up bars, access bars, facilitators, practitioners. You can take a bars class. It's a 1-day class, and afterwards you're a bars practitioner. And then you can, like you said, like run it on your family, run it on your kids, offer it to your clients. You can go to bars trades after you take the bars class. You can connect with people locally. There's thousands of facilitators all over the world. I would say bars is in nearly every country at this stage. You might find one in your area. If you don't, there's always Access Bars 365 group on Facebook is great. Anyone can join there. It's an open public group. You can go in there and you can ask about the bars. There's loads of stuff online about it on YouTube. Where can people find you, Veronica?
You can find me at veronicaparker44.com. You can see all my classes and sessions. I do a lot of things in person and online as well.
Yeah. So check it out if it interests you, if it pings at you, and if you're listening and you've already done the bars, it's time to get your bars run, like, and just see, like, I think my wonder would be like, what if you just like said, hey, I'm going to get my bars run every week for the next couple of months and see what changes, and just out of curiosity with no expectations, so thanks for coming on, Veronica. People, you also give us a free gift. I will include that in the text afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here today. I love talking to you and spreading this amazing gift that is Access Bars in the world.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.